And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that short break as we returned. I have my tea. It will sustain me throughout the night, or throughout the day even. We have returned with round 16. Round 16 of OlimoLeague. I am very nervous, though. I'll be honest, I'm very nervous. Why am I nervous? Because we only just now wrapped up the round of 32. We're 2 hours in. It's gonna be a long cast, papi. It's gonna be a long one. No, I don't know if my body's ready for this. Not anymore, papi. Not anymore. But here we go. We have our first series of the round of 16. Up next is gonna be a PvT between MaNa and Percival. Here we go. We just, of course, covered MaNa up against his Zerg opponents. Now, how does he compare to a Terran opponent, especially one that hasn't really been too active as of late? I mentioned before that Percival, of course, he did retire at the start of the year. He was, of course, nowhere to be seen for most of 2024, but did return to competitive play last month in December. It was the early days of December where he did pop back up in OlimoLeague in these open cups. I was very surprised to see his return, and it's great to see him. Great to see him once again. Again, Percival, he is still regaining his skill, and even before that, he wasn't necessarily the most notable of players. Percival, he was, I would say, maybe like a Code A player, a player that was not quite able to make it into Code S, for example, not quite able to make it through into that event, but was on the rise, always a constant streamer as well, and still a threat in these online events. We'll see how he compares to a veteran of the scene. As spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of El Dorado, we have the Polish Protoss player, the Red Protoss representing Team Liquid. It is MaNa. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have his opponents. We have the Blue Terran player. We have the Blue South Korean Terran. The returning Terran player, it is Percival. And welcome one and all to El Dorado. Once again, El Dorado is the most vetoed map in the map pool, or at least one of the most vetoed maps in the map pool. But now that we've reached the round of 16, this is the starting map. So all the matches that we have ahead of us here in this round begin on El Dorado, as it is predetermined and it is loser's pick. Here we go. Now we are going to be settling in, and we'll see how our players do approach a map like El Dorado. Last game, we saw that Yanyaka was going for very heavy Ling aggression, was going for Ling floods and more Ling commitment as well, was trying to pull MaNa apart and did do some damage, but not enough to really justify the commitment here of Yanyaka. Here, we'll see how Percival will adjust his approach, as we see a single gas in the main, which means ranks into expansion. It is going to be a Rax expand setup. So far, economic is going to be very economic here from the side of Percival, and likewise MaNa has yet to embrace his take of choice, going for his own gate Cybercore into Nexus. Standard opener here out of MaNa, very safe as well, doesn't cut any corners, doesn't try to go for the Nexus before the Cybercore. Likewise across the map, being as annoying as possible, trying to delay the CC, and will disrupt the opener at least somewhat by a second or two. As Percival, he was forced to bring down a second SCV just to zone away the probe, and now he does defend. Behind this, bearing in mind as well that Percival did skip the Reaper. It was a Marine first, so Rax expand into Marine, into Reactor. This means zero scouting. You can see here Percival, he has nothing across the map. There's no SCV to scout. There's no Reaper to scout either. So again, zero scouting information here from Percival. Behind this is going to be a Stargate opener as well. We have our take of choice going Stargate. I would imagine into just Oracles, into a ground-based composition, but we could see a commitment into Phoenixes. We mentioned earlier in the previous series that this map is short by air. It is a short rush distance by air, so as a result, MaNa has a lot of potential here to get across the map as quickly as possible to get some economic damage. We'll see. We will see if he goes for it. Percival, he is just trying to keep up here with the Adept. We have our first unit of choice, going to be the Oracle, not the Stargate. I'm sorry, not the Phoenix, I meant to say. His Stargate opener into an Oracle. Behind this, Percival playing safe. Remember, Percival, he has 0 scouting information, so he's just playing it safe, going for a Cyclone. I imagine into a Viking, building up his Marines. No medevac. Being more defensive as he doesn't really know what is going on. Oh, okay, not a Viking going into the initial medevac. I mean, again, if he was aware of the Phoenix production, I'm sure we would see a Viking. The last Percival is in the dark. Does break out. Nice stutter stepping. The Adept does escape. Doesn't commit into the main. This Percival so far, he is holding on. Oracle towards the main base. It's on the way. Cyclone moves out of position. The main base is exposed. And Percival, does he commit across the map? Oracle's making its way in. Back at home, there's not much to defend. Vikings on the way. There are 2 Marines in position, but just 2 Marines. And SCVs are going to go down. And Percival forced off the mineral line. Going to be 2 SCV kills. That could have been worse. Losing a 3rd. And now a 4th. And now a 5th. And, oh, God. 5. So it'd be 6. 6 SCVs go down. 7. There's plenty of energy on the Oracle. And Percival, he commits. He does commit across the map. He's losing everything back at home. The workers are falling left and right. 8 SCV kills already. And what can Percival do? Takes down a couple of Adepts. It's going to be 12 worker kills across the map. The stasis. Stasis pops up. Percival takes it to the face. Tank has arrived, but here at home, there is a Phoenix. There are Phoenixes they can lift. Phoenix has started down, not bad. Phoenix does fall. Percival, the target firing does focus down another Phoenix. And he's going for the final Phoenix as well. Can he get it? As there's another lift. And barely he will. Takes down all 3, but alas at the cost of the tank. And with that MaNa, he should have enough to defend. He should hold. He should, and he will. Takes down the medevac. Cyclones the Marines. MaNa, he shuts this down. And he defends. So far, so good. MaNa, he's up in workers. He's up in economy. Even on bases. His Phoenix count was reset. That is a little bit concerning. Bearing in mind the robot just now being thrown down. So the ground army here from MaNa is lacking. And Percival, does he move out once again? But now he's trying to recover. eBay's on the way. This tells us that Percival, he intends to... I was gonna say get +1, but this might just be for turrets. We'll see. We'll see if he does start +1. Now getting another factory. I was getting another tank, I meant to say. Tank production underway. Working towards Stim. Stim has begun. And Percival, he does have a lot of catching up to do. Oh boy. There's a lot of catching up to do here. As he's trying to just rebuild his army. Phoenixes, they catch out the Vikings. Ooh, 1 Viking goes down. The other taking a lot of hits. And he does get the 2nd Viking as well. Ay, ay, ay. Rough losses here for Percival. Not like this. As both Vikings do fall, +1 does in fact begin for Percival, which means he's stuck at home. This tells us that Percival, even if he does go for a 2-base all-in, he won't move out until he has upgrades. So he's going to be trapped. This means that MaNa has freedom to saturate that 3rd base to gain map control. We can see that MaNa, he's investing into tech and extra production buildings, is just gearing up here towards the mid-game. MaNa's ground army is lacking, but he doesn't need a ground army. Not yet. So far doing well for himself. I mean, the Oracle did pop off at the start of the game. Since they do get a couple of SCVs. Workers are going down. 5, 6, 7. Oh my god, getting up to 8, 9 SCVs. Once again, just crippling the economy, and Percival, he has to commit. At this point, he should just pull the boys. There we go, the boys are being pulled. I mean, there aren't many to pull because so many of them have gone down, but it's all or nothing for Percival, and then he confirms the all-in. MaNa, he sees, he knows. Back at home, what is it to defend? We have a wall of shield batteries. First Colossus is on the way. Making 2 Colossus at a time, actually. Is it going to be enough? I mean, the Colossi, they're going to be ideal against all these SCVs, but it's just going to be the one. Tanks are getting within range of the shield battery. Shield battery under fire. First one does fall. Pylon as well. But the longer this goes on, the better it is for MaNa. Percival, he's on a timer. Oh no! Oh god, the force fields are brutal. The SCVs, they get caught out. 8 SCVs do fall. Reinforcements on the way. Percival is trickling in. Leading out another Phoenix. Another Phoenix does fall. Tanks take depower one of the robots. Very nicely done, but now there's 2 Colossi. He is slowly encroaching upon the production though. Robo gets repowered, but within range of the tanks. So this robo should fall. There should not be a 3rd Colossus, not yet at least. But we do have an attempted surround. Zelta warping in. Robo falls. There's still one left, and that 3rd Colossus is on the horizon. It's almost out. It's almost out at this point. Percival pushing towards the 3rd base, catching out the Zealots. Likewise, tanks are within range of the Nexus. And here we go, MaNa, he breaks out. He at least tries to. Lifts up the tanks. 3rd Colossus has arrived. The tanks are going down, but what about the bio? They stim in, but against 3 Colossus, yeah, MaNa, he holds. He shuts this down, cleans up all the tanks, shuts down the bio. And MaNa, he saves the 3rd. 3rd base is still up and running. Percival, he is down to 19 workers. Nice tank volley's going up. Percival can try to stim in. Immortal goes down, but again, the 3 Colossus, they just cannot be dealt with. GG gets called, and MaNa takes game number 1. Ooh, GG. GG, well played. MaNa will take a lead in the series. Again, MaNa, he just started things off with a massive lead. It came down to the Oracle harass. The Oracle did pop off, did cripple the economy. We saw that Percival, he was desperate to get some kind of counter damage. He was not able to. It wasn't just the Oracle harass, it was also the Phoenix harass as well. MaNa, he was just on top of that economy. He forced the 2-base all in. But as you mentioned, it took a little bit too long. It took a long time for the 2-base all in to really get going. And we saw that as time went on, MaNa, he was building up more and more Colossi. He got up to 3 towards the end. And that's kind of the ideal. That is kind of the ideal number you want against any kind of bio-based composition. GG. GG, well played. MaNa, he holds. He takes game number 1. And that will lead us into game number 2. This is going to be Percival's map of choice. The sweet spot, that's what I was looking for. And spawning in the top right-hand corner of Amygdala, we have the Polish Protoss player, the Red Protoss, representing Team Liquid. Leading the series 1-0. It is MaNa. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have his opponents. We have the blue Terran player. We have the blue Terran from South Korea, the returning ex-military. I'm not too sure if he has actually conducted the military service, his military service. Regardless, it is Percival. Yeah, that I'm not so sure about. Regardless, we are going to be settling in. And we'll see where our players take us. Again, a much larger map in the map pool, a longer rush distance by air as well, so because of that, Percival, he will have more time to respond, more time to react. What I will say, because the map is so large and because it takes so long to get across the map, Stargate play can be quite effective on this map as well, especially Mass Phoenix, just for map control to get into a greater economy. Likewise, I spoke earlier about how defendable this map can be, how easy it is to scout move outs and to prepare in time as well. As a result, we see a lot of longer games on this map, a lot of mid to late game on Amygdala. And Percival, once again, single gas opener out of the Terran, going for a faster command center. He is going for the CC. Catching the chat, just forcing the unnatural. Now it's just forcing the CC a little bit off center here, so not a bad start here by MaNa. Here we go, as we are settling in. So far, so good. So a bit of a disrupted start. Percival, he still gets his CC on the low ground. And hello, do you see what I see? That is a second Rax. No factory, no starport. This looks like the beginning of a 3 Rax. Okay, you have my attention. Now, this is a little bit old school. You don't, like, there was a period in time in the meta, especially like 2021, 2022, where we saw a lot of 3 Rax play in TVP. Nowadays, less so. It now has become easier to scout, especially with the new Sentry. I mean, I say the new Sentry at the start of the year, there was a buff, of course, and now we have, well, I say that because of the energy overcharge, Sentry-based openers are a little bit more lucrative as they allow you to scout a little more consistently because of the energy overcharge. So scouting is easier here to get eyes on what's going on and to confirm the build of choice. MaNa does poke in, does get eyes on the second Rax already. I mean, even without the hallucination. MaNa is somewhat aware. I mean, this could be a 2-1-1 or 3 Rax. So MaNa, he's piecing together what this could be. Behind this, Reaper dives into the main, gets a full scout of the tech, is going to be a Twilight Council opener into Blink. And the Reaper gets 2 probes so far. Not bad. Gets 2 workers. Heads into the mineral line. Doesn't get too much more done, but at least scouted the tech. Now, upon seeing this tech of choice, Percival has the option and he should be taking into or start producing Marauders. Mass Marine is good, but I mean, Blink Stalkers, they can just have their way with Mass Marine and just chip away and just slow down the army and just pick away at the army itself before it gets across the map. Marauders are going to be required. But now just focusing on bio production, on Marine production. Likewise, MaNa throwing down safety shield batteries, followed by the Robo. Still going 2-gate Blink into a third. We'll see if a third, there we go. Third gateway does get thrown down. Very safe play out of MaNa. And it's going to be on MaNa to be active like this. We mentioned before, but Stalkers, they do a great job at kiting an army. And especially against a 3 Rax, the pressure is on MaNa to slow it down. So he has to be as active as possible to pick away at the Marines, to ideally force a stim. There's the salvage. We spoke about the Marauder production. There we go. Marauders are on the way. Making 2 Marauders at a time. And Percival, he will soon move out. Meanwhile, Blink is not quite yet done here for MaNa. This is hitting a little bit earlier. MaNa, he pulls away. He does get 1 Marine. Gets 2. Takes down 2 Marines. Blink is now done. Gets a 3rd Marine as well. Can he get a 4th? Oh, not quite. Despite that, 3 Marine kills. Slowing down the force. Reinforcements should be on the way. A bit of a supply block there for MaNa. We'll bring in more Stalkers. And he should have enough. Like, this army cannot really threaten MaNa. Not anymore. As the first Marauder is not quite targeted down. No, there we go. Does fall. Marauder falls. There's a shield battery behind this. Percival, he does go for the dive. He sims in. And he will focus on the shield battery. But despite that, there are plenty of reinforcements, and MaNa, he will hold. He shuts down the bio. Forces back Percival. Just punishes the Marauders as well. There's some brutal losses here. And back at home, Percival, he is still in 2 bases, throwing down extra Raxes. Oh. No 3rd CC yet. And Percival, he's losing everything. 2 Marauders, they barely survive, but Blink is almost ready. MaNa, he doesn't quite catch out those final Marauders. But still, very nice trades. Looking at the unit loss tab here, not a single Stalker has gone down. 1 adept for 16 Marines and 2 Marauders. Again, the power of scouting and the power of, I mean, just being active with these Stalkers, the Blink control. Ah, no, catching out 2 more Marauders. Not like this. Not like this. More Marauders go down. And Percival is just being bullied back. MaNa, a bit of an overextension, does bleed out some Stalkers. Does bleed out a handful of Stalkers. The 3rd Stalker goes down. MaNa gets punished. He's going to reinforce it. MaNa, he wants to go for the kill. And Percival, he's barely standing. The boys are being pulled. Percival barely holding on. A nice Blink control. Another Stalker does fall though. SCVs are going down. And these Marauders, these 3 Marauders in the backline, they do so much. Oh my god. With that, Percival, he does hold on. Did cost him 6 SCVs and most of his Marines, but he survives. And again, thanks to the buffer here, those 3 Marauders that were doing so much damage to the army. What was once 0 dead Stalker is now 11. 11 Stalkers went down in that fight. MaNa rotating into the main. Takes down some of the add-ons. Leading out another Stalker. Percival, he's holding. Just massing up almost pure Marauder. Couple of Marines, couple of Widow Mines. MaNa getting his 3rd base up and running. Taking into charge. Nice control out of MaNa. Does focus on the Widow Mine. Prism into the main. It goes down to the Widow Mine. War Prism does fall. Nice defense out of Percival. Should clean up the Zealots. From here is gearing up. MaNa behind this, trying to set up here for the eventual move out. Shield batteries are on the way. Cannons as well. No splash damage here from MaNa. It's purely going to be a Gateway Army and Immortals. And MaNa, you can see he's active on the left-hand side. Does have the Xel'Naga. Does thankfully take the Xel'Naga on the right as well. And he should spot the main army. And he does. MaNa, he is aware. He rotates. He responds. Percival is up in army supply. We spoke about it earlier, but those were expensive losses. 13 Stalkers went down. And now MaNa, his army, it's struggling here. And here comes Percival with the counterattack. With the Mass Marauder. Oh, nice force fields though. Slicing up the army. And Percival unable to gain any ground. Behind this does defend against the Zealot run by. Does defend. And Percival, he rotates. Does rotate. And MaNa's not fully aware of this rotation. Thankfully, he is getting in position. So good read here from MaNa. Ready at the 3rd. Takes down a Widow Mine. But that's still how many? That's 16 Marauders. Jesus. 16 Marauders pushing in, taking down another Stalker. Percival going for a Doom Drop. I mean, he sees a wall of Zealots. He cannot break through that. Does drop into the main. MaNa, he responds with the Warp in. And does blink in time. Percival, he is denied. Boosting into the main. He commits. He's crazy. Medevac goes down. And he will break through those Stalkers. Yeah, the main army of MaNa out of position. Forced to recoil into the main. Stalkers go down. And Percival, he can take this fight. He can take this to the Immortals that were left behind. Slipping into the middle line. Mine Shot goes off. Takes down 5 probes. Boys are being pulled. And MaNa's being torn apart. Does arrive with his main army though. He will force a big up. Does force Percival out, but that is 22. Oh, the limbs! Oh my god, the limbs are popping up! 25, 26, 27. Late reaction there on the MaNa. Doesn't pull away. So many probes go down. 27 probe kills. And counting. He's still not done. Again, no response there on the MaNa. Does engage with the main army. Dives on the Liberator. He's trying to break out, and he will. And MaNa, he should barely have enough. Reinforcements have arrived. MaNa, he holds on, but he lost 32 workers in the process. And Percival now ahead in economy. Now he's got 52 workers to the 28 of MaNa. Barely an economy standing here. As he lost most of his economy in the main at the 3rd. Down to 2 base saturation. And Percival, he takes a lead. He has clawed his way back into... Oh, God. I expect this. He has clawed his way back into this game. Does lose a full medevac. Has to calm down. MaNa still in this. Is now moving out. He breaks free. Catching out more of these medevacs. Nice target firing out of Percival. Takes down a Stalker. Another medevac goes down. And Percival is going to be able to hold his ground as well. MaNa overextending. Not enough buffer, not enough support. Every immortal is going to fall. Lands the Vikings. GG gets called. Percival, he snowballs out of control. And he takes game number 2, tying up the series 1-1. GG. GG, well played. MaNa had a very strong start to this game, shutting down the 3-backs, but MaNa overextended. MaNa, he got a little bit too excited. He was overly aggressive at the natural. If you remember, MaNa, he lost 11 Stalkers trying to break the natural. Was not worth it. He was trading with Marines, not trading with Marauders, and then he fell behind in the supply. And Percival, from there, he popped off. What I will say is that if Percival tried to push into the third base, like, head-on, I don't think it would have been successful. The drop into the main was insane. It wasn't just a drop, though. It was a drop into the main base, distracting MaNa, and the Liberators harassing the third base at the same time. And that was the moment where MaNa lost his economy. He lost everything. It was, what, almost 30 workers going down. It was crazy. With that, GG, well played. We're going to the ace match. We're going all the way to game number 3. As spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of ley lines, we have the South Korean Terran player, the Blue Terran, tying up the series 1-1 and forcing the ace match. It is Percival. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have his opponents. We have the Polish Protoss player, the Red Protoss, representing Team Liquid, being forced into the ace match. We'll see if we can bring it back. It is MaNa. Here we go. Are going to be settling in and calming things down. Okay, so MaNa, he has mixed it up. If you recall, game 1 went for a Stargate opener, game 2 went for a Twilight Council, and here in game 3, this is MaNa's map of choice. We're going to be loading into ley lines, one of the more standard maps in the map pool. Shorter rush distance, but defendable bases. I'm curious to see how MaNa does open up this time. So he moves out with the Probe Scouts. For the first time this series, double gas opener out of Percival. This can lead into a couple different kind of builds and a couple different follow-ups here. This can lead into a 1-1-1, into Banshee place or early Banshee production, early tank drop, committed Widowmine drop, Cyclones as well. We'll see where Percival takes us, as the Probe will confirm the more tech-heavy start. So MaNa is aware. Gets the hell out of there. And we'll pull away. Let's pull away. Also, welcome to all those in the chat. I see late Chrononauts. I see Walrus Jutsu as well. ¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo estás? Bienvenidos. Bienvenidos. Good to see you all. Yeah. It's been an intense week, Pappy. It's been an intense week. Aye, aye, aye. This is going to be our first cast of the day, in a way. Again, we were adminning the 2v2 event earlier this morning, but later on tonight we have the podcast as well. The return of the podcast. It's been a couple of weeks. We did take some time off because of the holidays, due to Christmas and New Year's, of course, but we haven't had the podcast in a couple of weeks, which means we have a lot of catching up to do. There's a lot of tournaments to catch up on during the podcast, so we'll do our best. We'll do our best. For those that are curious, the podcast is our weekly talk show or weekly podcast where we go over all the tournament results and all the news in StarCraft. Balance changes, map pool, content that has been produced, of course, like Zombie Gob's interview series that she has been uploading on a regular basis. Any kind of like roster changes or team pickups or retirements, for example. Like we just cover everything during the podcast. But again, we haven't been hosting it for the past 2 weeks because of the holidays, but now we're coming back, which means we have a backlog. We have a backlog of things to talk about. So it's gonna be a long day. It's gonna be a long day. As Percival does get across the map, so far MaNa's in position, shield battery is finishing up, and we have the taker choice, going to be a Twilight Council opener out of MaNa into Blink. So Blink is on the horizon. The scout is denied. So far MaNa, he keeps up. Meanwhile, across the map, what is Percival going for? CC on the high ground, very safe setup here into his 1-1-1. Oh, does open up with the initial Widowmine, but we have the add-on swap here for the Tech Labs, which means we could end up going into early Banshee production. We'll keep an eye on Percival to see if he goes for the Banshee or if he goes for the Raven instead. What's it going to be? Meanwhile, Percival does get behind the mineral line. He is aware of the Twilight Council. How many gateways is the question? There's going to be 2 gates in the main, so just 2 gate Blink for now. could just be 2-gate blink into a third. And we spoke about Banshees. There it is. It's going to be a Banshee opener here out of Percival, very committed. So early Banshee, early tank. This is designed to move out early on as well, and designed to try to catch the Protoss player off guard without detection. Assuming that we invest into Cloak. We'll see. No Cloak yet. No Cloak is being researched. Percival dropping in towards the natural. Widowmine does burrow. I think it's the one probe. Nothing major. Nothing major yet. As Percival, he does escape with a medevac. A second Banshee's on the way. Now, there are a couple different ways that you can approach this. There are some players that will use this kind of build to move out with your main army and then harass with the Banshees at the same time and try to wreak havoc and pull apart the attention of the defending Protoss player. There are others that turn this into a 2-base all-in, where they actually move together with the tanks with the Banshee all at once. They even pull the boys and they just commit. We'll see what Percival goes for. So far, MaNa, he's being active. He does get eyes on the Banshee. Sees the tanks as well, and so far is doing a good job at slowing it down. So he picks away at the medevacs. Scan takes down the observer. Percival was aware. And Percival, he is running out of steam here. He does have tanks, that is true, but he bleeds out a lot of Marines. And with that, MaNa, he holds. He is holding well. Percival, he has to back off, and you can see Percival is tanking. Stim is on the way. Extra racks as well. So Percival, he backs off. He's going to be taking more defensive stance back at home. Does take a more defensive stance. MaNa diving into the main. Does delay some of the production. Taking up some Marines, catching a Marauder. Just trading as efficiently as possible. Behind all of this is expanding, taking his third base. His third base is getting up and running. Is macroing. As the observer barely makes it out. Let's go. Barely slips away. Banshees, they get across the map, but MaNa is in position. He does defend. It does look like the Banshees. And Percival is expanding. Third CC. No 2-base all in. Percival is gearing up towards a longer game state. Is building up. MaNa likewise containing his opponent. So far so good. Banshees, they get across the map. Hatching a couple workers. I mean, they're slowly getting value here. 6 probes going down so far. But not much more than that. They get a Stalker, but alas, no more economic damage. Getting one more probe towards the end. And the Banshees get cleaned up. Nice defense here by MaNa. In the end, better defense here by MaNa, and that wasn't quite worth it for Percival, getting 7 probes for 2 Banshees. At least didn't invest into Cloak. At least. As Percival, he will eventually break out. Just waiting for those upgrades. Stim and Combat Shields just finished. Concussive Shell about to finish as well, which means finally Percival, he can move out and expand. Now, what I appreciate here by MaNa, he's waiting for the move out. He's setting up here for a Zealot drop into the natural. Once the army gets spotted, then he can commit. As the Observer is parked outside of the natural. Percival just getting in position to expand. Being dragged out into the open. And again, if Percival pushes, that is going to be the sign here for MaNa to push in. As Percival does get halfway across the map. MaNa reinforcing once again. Going for another warp in. And I feel like now is the time. May not get spotted, catching out some of the sentries. Catching MaNa somewhat off guard. Oh, meanwhile, Viking does scout the run by. Macho goes off. Prism goes down. Yeah, MaNa otherwise distracted by the main fight. And with that, I mean, the Prism goes down and the Zealot run-by gets spotted. Percival's ready. Percival, he is ready for it. The Zealot run-by does nothing. Percival defends, getting his own third base. Looking good so far. MaNa committing with his army. He's got 3 Immortals behind this. Mass Charge Load as well. Has potential. Definitely does have potential moving in. Will take some mind shots to the face. What am I say? Do pop off. And with that, MaNa doesn't have much left over. It does peel off a couple of Zealots, getting 3-4 CVs into natural. Takes some economic damage. Hitting over. Keeping tabs on Percival. And Percival, he's not moving out. He's expanding. Okay. It's expanding, getting a 4th TC. Building up towards a longer game state. And we, for the first time in this series, are going to be embracing a more macro game. Both Game 1 and Game 2 were a little more active, a little more aggressive. But here we're just building up and settling in. MaNa's getting his own 4th base up and running, embracing double Colossus production. 2nd Robo is done. Massing up those Colossi into eventually Disruptors. MaNa, he's getting there. Why is Percival still being active? Looking for a way across the map. MaNa does miss the move out. Uh-oh. And MaNa, he's out of position. He's out in the center of the map. Percival does catch 3 Colossus. Colossus goes down, and Natural's exposed, forcing a recall. And Percival gets the hell out of there. Scan spots the army. Could try to contest against it, but MaNa is setting up the surround. Percival, he pulls out. Oh, nice mind connection. As MaNa is distracted, recalls on cooldown. Percival comes in for a counterattack. Does hit the left-hand side. Going for the 4th. Takes down the side defense. Doesn't quite get much economic damage yet. But damage nonetheless. Going for the Nexus, actually. It's going to go down. Massive pick off the Marauders. Oh my god. They just chew through the Nexus. Nexus goes down. MaNa down to 3 bases. He's being pulled apart. Percival, he's soon to max. MaNa, he's supply blocked. Pylons are on the way. On the mind shot. Massive mind connection here in the mineral line. Probes go down. And MaNa, he's now down in workers, down in bases. We were settling into a longer game state, but the multi-pronged aggression here from Percival is just pulling MaNa apart. Hitting the natural, hitting the 3rd, the 4th. MaNa having a hard time keeping up. And Percival's maxed. At this point, he is maxed out. He's diving in, EP goes up. The Prism goes down. Down to 2 Colossi. There are Vikings. And where's the anti-air? There's 2 Stalkers. There's only 2 Stalkers if the Colossi are going down one after the other. The Vikings aim wreak havoc. And the Bio Army, it stims. And he wins. Percival, he breaks on through. I mean, it did take us all the way to the ace match here. MaNa, he did well against Young Jakob, but GG gets called, and Percival, he will take down MaNa 2-1, advancing on to the quarterfinals. GG. GG, well played. A very, very tense game state here. Very back and forth as well. I assumed that we were going to be embracing a longer game state and headed towards both armies maxing out. But if you remember, that was when Percival, he snuck out across the map. He did go by unscouted. It was important. It was so important there that MaNa did not get eyes on the move out, and as a result, he was caught off guard at the natural. That was when Percival, he skirted around the edge on the right hand side. He snuck up on the natural base. He took down a free Colossus, and he was able to force the recall. And as the army was distracted, as he forced a big reaction out of MaNa, that's when he hit the northern base, and he killed the Nexus, supply blocked MaNa. End of the game then and there. Did snowball out of control. GG, well played. Percival does take it. My condolences to MaNa, but I mean, shout out to the return of Percival again. Percival, he has been back for a month at this point. I want to say almost exactly a month, Percival has returned, and so far has been slowly regaining that skill, has been getting better and better results. Very impressive performance here from Percival to make it through MaNa into the quarterfinals. Oh boy, and we'll be getting into more of Percival's matches as we wrap up the round 16. Up next, we do have our next series here. We're going to be jumping into a PvT.